Purandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiro Nanachadi Yamuna Tiro Nanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kundapi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kundapi Hari Jaya Paraman Samparibrahmacharya Sutara Jaya Nanda Gori Vaishnava ki Jaya Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jaya Prem Sutta Ho Sri Krishna Shri Radha Krishna Ko Gopla Sam Kanda Radha Kunda Giri Bhakti Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai Jamuna Mai ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai Swami Bhaktivind ki Jai. All glories to that. All glories to that. Thank you very much.
The truth is that Hollywood's elite actors
Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to our ongoing discussion on Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. So far, we are actually approaching the end of the chapter. So, in this chapter, we believe last time we completed until verse number 38 or 39. Definitely 38 we completed. Maybe we completed 39 also. But we can quickly recap that. It's a short verse. So far in the discussion, in this chapter, the conversation begins with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He tells Arjuna how he instructed this transcendental knowledge to Sun God Vivaswan long time ago. And this made Arjuna ask, how is that possible? Because Sun God is very ancient. And from an external perspective, we see Krishna was, appeared in that particular era just 5,000 years ago. Of course, Arjuna knows Krishna's real position, but here he's asking a question on behalf of everyone else, for everyone else's benefit, because such a question might arise in future. And so Krishna says that, well, both of us had many births. You don't remember them, but I do. I appear. He says he appears in every yuga, whenever or wherever there is decline in irreligion. So he comes to re-establish religion, annihilate the demons, and deliver the pious. So there are many people who have achieved perfection, knowing the real position of Krishna, that his birth and activities are divine, and the way act according to their understanding, they are not bonded. So most people in this world, they are motivated by a desire for success and fruitive activities, and then for that purpose they worship different demigods. And what happens is, of course, demigods, they don't deliver any benefits on their own accord. They do it on the basically the power or potency that they get is due to Krishna. So in this way, everyone approaches Krishna either directly or indirectly, right? And according to the three modes of nature, there are different varnas or classifications or divisions of the human society, and this system of varna was created by Krishna himself. And the current version of the caste system, which is based on birth, is a degraded version of the pristine system of division of society based on nature. Right? And Krishna says, well, he has nothing to achieve, nothing to aspire. Still, he works because one needs to work even to maintain the body, right? So in this way, those who are intelligent, they know the position of Krishna. He's working, but he is not working like an ordinary fruity worker. He has nothing to achieve. So his work, though appears in action, is in reality inaction. He's not bound by karma. Similarly, we cannot, the individual conditioned souls right now, they're conditioned, but by coming to the platform of knowledge, by understanding the difference between action and inaction, and acting accordingly, they can also become free from the bondage, right? So those who have proper knowledge can understand how, certain, there is action in inaction and there is inaction in action. Right? It's all based on consciousness of how that work is performed. So in this way, one should abandon attachment to the results of activities to be ever satisfied. In this way, one can become free from entanglement. One should be steady in success and failure, should be free from the dualities. So, in this way, the work of a man who is not attached to the modes of nature completely merges into transcendence. Person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities. Right? So we talked about that. Then we talked about different kind of sacrifices at length. And Arjuna asks, no. So here Krishna is saying, well, without sacrifice, one can never be happy either in this world or next. Right? So therefore, one should perform sacrifices. And sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of possession. So it's important to know why one is doing a particular work. Who is the beneficiary of the work? What benefit one will get? Right. So in this way, even if one is considered the most sinful of all sinners, if one is situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, then one can cross over the ocean of miseries. It's just like a blazing fire can consume all kind of fuel or firewood to ashes. Similarly, knowledge can burn to ashes, reactions of all kind of material activities. Also ask him to approach a spiritual master to inquire submissively and render service unto him. Because those who actually have transcendental knowledge or acting on that platform, who are self-realized, they can they are the ones who can actually impart the real knowledge because they have seen the truth. Then we talked about faith. So maybe let's start with verse number 39 because again 39 and 40 are related. So verse number 39. Shraddhava labhate jnanam tatparah samyatendriyah jnanam ladva param santim achirenadi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Purport. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who firmly believes in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain the highest perfection. This phase is attained by discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in knowledge of Krishna consciousness without any delay. So here what Krishna is saying is that a faithful person who is dedicated in cultivating transcendental knowledge and then is acting on that knowledge and is practicing sense control, then one is eligible to achieve knowledge, right? So there is studying and there is practicing, right? Because it's not simply a matter of theoretical understanding, right? Being an armchair philosopher does not help. One has to act on that platform. So by restraining one's senses, right, one is practicing that sense control. One is practicing how to be not affected by the dualities of this world, right? And then one is actually able to receive that transcendental knowledge, that is realized knowledge, which comes from practicing. And in this way, one can attain that supreme spiritual practice. And it's a process, so it takes time, right? Anything in this world takes practice. One has to dedicate time and effort. But what motivates one to have that patience, to keep continuing, to keep endeavoring, right, not giving it up, is that one has faith that this is a process that will lead to eventual success, right? So that faith is required. Shraddha, here Shraddhavan, right? So um, so the first stage, right, in spiritual progress is Adau Shraddha, right? So one begins by at least accepting theoretically, right? And then you put into practice and you validate their understanding. So that initial faith comes. Now that the initial faith has to be put, right? But it's not whimsical. Why is it not whimsical? Because even in our ordinary experience, right, there is some basis or premise even to put an initial faith. So if we accept the authority of someone, we don't accept it whimsically. When we associate with that person, we have positive, repetitive, reinforced experiences. Those positive experiences in association of any particular individual strengthens our faith, right? And based on that faith, we are willing to accept what that person says, at least theoretically, right? Doesn't mean we have to give up our intelligence, but once by accepting theoretically, we can put that into practice, right? Just like you see so many people, they immigrate to say one country, one from country A to country B, and they might have never visited a country B, but then they have a faith that they will have a better life in that country based on experiences of other people who have lived there, right? Now they have to go and validate it because everyone's experience is different. But if one endeavors on that path, right, to be able to immigrate to that country, one has to have that initial faith, right? And then one goes and makes their endeavors and validate it. So that's one crude example, but anything in this life, right? Just like a child, he begins to learn. And for learning, the child does not have the knowledge or the intelligence, the means to gain. It has to begin somewhere. Well, their first teachers are their parents. And because they have this positive, repetitive experience uh, of their parents bringing them up nicely, taking care of the child, right? Feeding them, giving love and affection, the child naturally begins to trust the parents. And so, the child, when he starts speaking, even before he starts speaking, he's observing and learning. But any question that the child has, once they start speaking, they ask, one day they might ask dozens of questions. What is this? Why does this happen? Why does the sun rise? Right? So many questions. And the child simply asks, Mother, how is it that this happens? What is this? And mother replies, and the child simply accepts, right? Right. So, um, if we have to gain knowledge, we don't have to reinvent the wheel on our own. It's a long, tedious process. So we accept the knowledge from those who know. And for that, one needs initial faith, and that faith comes from association by those experiences. Right? Even in science, we don't start. There's always new research that is done, where research is built on the work that is done by previous scientists who have documented their results, their experiments, their findings in different journals, right? And that is accepted. Now, when a student he or she reads and then accepts it, and then builds on top of it. Now that person can go and validate it by doing an experiment. And they will see that this is truth. But unless there is a need, they might not validate it. They accept it, right? Because the knowledge is an outcome of a standard process that they have followed, a rigorous scientific process, and there is an authority that such and such person is a professor or a scientist, and the results are published in such and such journal, of repute. So in this way, one puts that initial faith and then accepts it and then builds on top of it, right? So similarly, there are different authorities, even in spiritual life, who can be approached and whose word is taken as an initial faith, simply on the basis of initial faith, and then one begins that process and then validates it and comes to the proper spiritual realization. So that's verse number 39. Moving on, verse number 40. Agyas अज्ञश्चाश्वद्धानश्च सम्यत् संशयात्मा विनश्यति नायं लोकोऽस्ति न परो न सुखं संशयात्मनः. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: but the ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. Right. So here, ashraddha without faith in revealed scriptures. Such a person is compared here to be a fool. He's full of all doubts. And for a doubting person, there is happiness neither in this world nor the next. Right. So there is this. We'll read the purport, and it highlights on a particular kind of philosophy called skepticism. The idea of skepticism, we'll talk about that, but the idea is that we should be skeptical about everything. Right? So purport, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that there are many authoritative revealed scriptures, but out of them, Bhagavad Gita is the best. Person who are almost like animals have no faith in or knowledge of the standard revealed scriptures. right? So animals, they don't have access to literary knowledge in literary form, right? They cannot read, they cannot inquire. So people who, despite of having a human form of life, right, if they are not inquiring, because they have no faith or right, in revealed scriptures, then they are not much different, right? So they are compared here to animals. They are almost like animals. Dvipada pasuhu. And some of these individuals, they might have theoretical knowledge. They can recite passages or verses from revealed scriptures, but actually they don't have any faith or any realization in these words. And even though there are others who have faith in the scriptures, like Bhagavad Gita, they don't accept the supreme truth, or they do not believe in the worship of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So such persons cannot have any standing in Krishna consciousness. They fall down. Out of all the above mentioned persons, those who have no faith and those who are always doubtful, they make no progress at all, right? So this is the lowest of all categories. Srila Prabhupada described degradations of people over here, right? So there are people who have zero faith, right? They have probably never opened any of the revealed scriptures. They were any curious because they had no faith, right? So that's the lowest level. But then there are others who have some theoretical knowledge, they can recite, but they don't believe it, right? And then others, they have some belief, but then their understanding is incorrect, right? So in this way, there are different gradations. But for people who have no faith at all, right, there's no hope for them. So man without faith in God and his revealed word find no good in this world nor in the next. For them, there is no happiness whatsoever. One should therefore follow principles of revealed scriptures with faith and thereby raise to the platform of knowledge. Only this knowledge will help one become promoted to the transcendental platform of spiritual understanding. In other words, a doubtful person have no status whatsoever in spiritual emancipation. One should therefore follow in the footsteps of great acharyas who are in the disciplic succession and thereby attain success. Right, so initial faith is required. By that faith, one begins to cultivate knowledge and rises to the platform of knowledge. And having obtained this knowledge, one is promoted to the transcendental spiritual understanding. Right? And one has to approach, Srila Prabhupada is saying that one should approach or follow in the footsteps of great acharyas who are in disciplic succession and thereby come to the proper understanding, right? So of three categories, well, one who don't have faith at all, but others who and no faith never open scriptures. Others who have opened scriptures, they might recite it, but they don't have faith. Why? Even if they read Bhagavad Gita, even if they're able to recite it, still they don't have faith because they have not associated with devotees. They have not learned it from those self-realized personalities in disciplic succession. So that is missing. And it only comes from association. Simply by reading the book, they won't get the proper mood and proper understanding. Or so they have no faith, or their faith is there, but that it's an incorrect understanding of the scriptures. That's why one has to follow in the footsteps of great acharyas. So, in the same line, the topic of faith, there is a philosophy of skepticism, right? So, skepticism is that you should doubt anything and everything, right? Now, if you take that maxim, then the implication of that is that maybe we should even, not maybe, we should even doubt that statement, that we should doubt anything and everything, even that statement should be doubted, right? So it's a it's a false argument, right? In reality, in this world, everything works on the initial premise of the faith, right? Even those who subscribe to the philosophy of skepticism, they have to put a faith in it, right? Okay, I'm going to accept this as a philosophy, but if you do a logical evaluation, it's a self-defeating philosophy, right? So if everything should be doubted, then even skepticism should be doubted, right? So in this way, skepticism has a value, but it's not an absolute principle. Skepticism can be applied as a subservient to the principle of faith, in the sense that one accepts it, but one can play devil's advocate to be skeptical about something, right? In order to see what are the potential counter arguments to it, and then what one has accepted based on faith, then you apply reasoning to see, if how the understanding as it's coming from the in disciplic succession, one applies one's intelligence and see how some of this uh, you know potential counter arguments can be defeated, right? And that makes one's philosophically strong. So the principle of skepticism has a value when it is subservient to the faith, not otherwise. So in this way, the philosophy of skepticism has not much value. So we are just discussing verse number 40. In verse number 39, Krishna talks about those who put that initial faith in the scriptures, in the revealed knowledge, they achieve perfection, right? Because everything begins on faith, right? Just like a child, when a child starts learning, he puts the faith in one's parents who are teaching the child, and the child puts faith not whimsically, but the child has a positive experiences from their parents who are very loving, they're caring, right? And so a child naturally begins to trust, put that faith. And then the proper use of intelligence is to, it's not that one gives up on intelligence, but the intelligence is then applied to validate the knowledge that one has received from putting that initial faith in a particular authority. Similarly, in the next verse 40, this particular verse, Krishna is saying, on the other hand, those who are ignorant and those who are faithless, they don't have faith in revealed scriptures. They don't achieve God consciousness. They're not happy either in this world or next. So in this regard, there is this philosophy of skepticism. The skeptics say that, well, everything should be doubted. Well, then according to their philosophy, even the statement that everything should be doubted, meaning that skepticism also should be doubted, right? It's the very statement that anything and everything should be doubted. Well, that statement itself should be doubted, right? So it's a self-defeating philosophy. When you take skepticism as a overarching principle, right? Then it becomes a self-defeating philosophy. However, skepticism can have a purpose when it is subservient to that initial faith. Skepticism can be actually, on the other hand, useful in removing doubts. How? Well, one accepts something on faith and one plays devil's advocate. Let me be a skeptic. In what ways maybe this is not true? What can we put some potential counter arguments? And then one tries to find answers to those counter arguments, defeat those counter arguments based on knowledge that is received in disciplic succession from self-realized souls. By applying that intelligence, so here both intelligence and here intelligence is used to overcome the doubts which have arisen in the mind of a skeptic. But that intelligence does not operate on its own. That intelligence is applied to understand the knowledge, Sabda Praman, the knowledge which is received from an authority based on initial faith. So either way, faith comes first, right? So here it is said, well, for a doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So even in this world, even if somebody is really a skeptic, right, one really cannot operate, even materially, what to speak about spiritually. For instance, if you doubt everything, then maybe you should be doubting. You doubt your family members, you doubt your superiors at work, you doubt the government, right? You doubt the teachers. One cannot even operate. For instance, one might think, "Oh, I'm drinking this water. What if the water is poisoned? Uh, so I should not drink the water. Maybe I should get the do a chemical analysis or some kind of test in the laboratory. Yes. And then you have to do it every day because you did the test just for today. What if someone poisoned the water tomorrow? What if my food is poisoned? What if the air is filled of poisonous gases? What if I take the next step and the earth would split apart? So I cannot even walk, cannot breathe, can't eat, right? So this is, if you apply the philosophy of skepticism to its logical extreme, you'll see the fallacy in the argument, right? So we all operate on the basis of initial faith. And that faith is again from experience. We know that, well, actually, the land does not split apart when you walk. It has not for X numbers of years of my life, right? And so, based on that past experience, we have that faith. Similarly, when a person is putting faith in any authority, is generally it's not whimsical. It's based on past experiences. Now, why are some people cheated? Well, they are fooled because their premise or what they were looking for in that person to put that faith, what they considered a positive experience, was probably biased, right? They were not, because their individuals maybe were not sincere. Given this example, when somebody says, well, I'm going to buy gold, but if that person says, I'm going to put faith in this jeweler, the goldsmith who is selling, and maybe the goldsmith cheats him. So I put the faith, but I was cheated. But that faith, if it's put whimsically, then there is a chance of being cheated. Otherwise, not. For instance, one has to have some basic understanding of, how do you determine what gold is, right? And how compared to other alloys, mixed alloys. Or if you go to a jeweler which is authorized by the government, or you have positive reviews from your close friends and family members who have used it, right? So one has to do one's due diligence. It shows one is sincere, right? And one is sincere in making the due diligence, and then one puts the faith, right? As opposed to going completely blind. So putting faith does not mean that one gives up one's intelligence. But the point is that intelligence in itself is not sufficient for making any kind of advancement, right? For instance, the same example, suppose one knows how to differentiate between uh, gold and alloys. Well, one sees that, oh, this particular shop is approved by the government or is a registered business, and he has good reviews from the family members as well, right? There's enough reason to make that put that initial faith. But if somebody is really skeptic, then we say, oh, maybe my friends and family members don't really know what is gold and what is not gold. Maybe they were cheated, or maybe they bought gold but it was overpriced, because it looks like they are very gullible. So I cannot put faith in their experience, right? So if you don't have faith in the experience of one's friend and family members, right, then you're doubting everything, right? So in this way, one cannot make, you will never be able to purchase gold, right? So so that initial faith is needed, but then one has to take the step and one has to validate. Now, if somebody goes to that jeweler, put that initial faith. Now, while doing the shopping, if he sees any red flags, where he's saying, oh, this particular jeweler is very pushy, right? And is trying to force him to close the deal, or there are other things that he might observe, then whatever initial faith that he has put, he might retract it. But the point is, he had to put initial faith even to try it out, right? So again, one has to have faith. Without faith, one cannot even operate in material realm, what to speak about spiritual realm. So that's the sum and substance of verse number 40. Any questions on this?
Javin, I have one question.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, in this particular verse, it's saying that we need to put a faith on all the scriptures what we have, right?
Yeah.
So now for us, I mean, the scriptures are translated by a lot of different people, and even Bhagavad Gita also you find in hundreds of different versions. So
Right.
I mean, we know that, okay, which one we have to select for Bhagavad Gita, but how about the others, or how we can identify that what is written is correct? Because like, I mean, I remember in my childhood, or even when I was not able to understand a lot of things, and then we used to attend some kathas and all other places, and then they will be like, uh, they will be saying that, oh, you should not be, like, you should remain celebrate for the entire life, or you should not be getting engaged into this sexual activities, or some other things, and all we discuss, I mean, all they discuss about is that the materialistic achievements, like if you go and donate 100,000 rupees over here, or you do this, then you are going to get 10 times better, and then you will become more powerful, or you will get more money. So they, but nobody speaks about, or even some of the books, they always talk about materialistic benefits. So even for our scriptures also. So I mean, at one point of time, it created doubts for me also, what I'm reading is correct, or it is something which needs to be validated. But who validates it?
Right. It's a really good question. So, sometimes the path could be convoluted, but as long as one is sincere in applying the principles then the Paramatma will give one the intelligence to come to a bona fide source. So, for instance, in the example that you quoted, um, in order to acquire knowledge, one has to put an initial faith. Well, in this example you quoted, we put that initial faith, otherwise you would not have sat and even listened, right? Right, because you put that initial faith, you were listening whatever version of philosophy, different speakers, or whatever interpretation they were presenting. Now, having put that faith doesn't mean it has to be a blind faith, right? Faith has to be there. Now, what is the function of intelligence? God gave intelligence to be used. So now when you receive that information, you have to validate based on one's intelligence. But then intelligence is guided by your sincerity, right? So sincerity is, as a soul, the extent to which we are sincere, we will seek the essence, the real essence of any injunction. So now in this case, if somebody says, well, you should be celibate all life, right? Now some people will be celibate all their life, but if that individual is saying this as an overarching principle for every single person on this planet, right, without any exceptions, to the extent that any kind of engagement in sexual activity, even for procreation, even according to Garvadan Samskar, which is one of the yagyas, right, of begetting children and raising them nicely in spiritual environment, is actually a service, right? So one, if rejects that as a principle, or one might say, well, if this is there, then why does this exist in the first place, right? There is no purpose to it. So in this way, one has to counter that question. So that's where you apply the skepticism. So skepticism has a value, but skepticism cannot be an overarching principle. If skepticism is taken as an overarching principle to its logical extreme, then there is no question of making progress. The faithless person is being referred to as someone who is a skeptic to the extreme extent. Right. Similarly, blind faith, that's one extreme is skepticism. The other extreme is just faith. You put faith. All you need is just faith, right? And you give up your intelligence, you give up skepticism. That is another extreme, right? So that, and faith again cannot be blind faith. That's why it's called blind faith, right? And there's faith and there is blind faith. So we're not talking about blind faith, because if the faith is taken as an overarching principle, then one falls into this problem of blind faith, right? So everything has a purpose. Faith has a purpose, skepticism has a purpose, intelligence has a purpose. It has to be applied properly. So when one questions, and okay, so all these questions would come genuinely, and we'll see if that person is able to answer satisfactorily. And the satisfaction that we get in the response is also based on our sincerity. If we are half baked, if we're not really seeking the essence or the real truth, then we might be convinced by some answer which is might be satisfying to us, but it might not be really what you call nearly complete. So, for instance, giving donations, right? That's another example that he quoted. We have to see how this person is actually using the money, right? Is he using for his own self-aggrandizement? Is that the original? Is that the overarching principle? There could be a reason for giving monetary donations, and one should give. But if somebody's taking it to the extreme where it says no, only donation of money counts, nothing else counts. When Krishna says, patram puspam phalam toyam, if somebody gives me simply a leaf, simply little water, any flower with love, I'll accept it. And this is not difficult to get. Water is easily available. Leaf, you go out and pluck a leaf from any plant, right? Flower, you accept it. Doesn't cost any money. Anything offered with love, Krishna accepts. But if somebody is just ignoring that and is just trying to extract money, then one can see that this person is not sincere. So ultimately, the faith is not. Why is it not blind faith? As I said, the faith comes organically through repeated positive experiences, right? And what we consider positive is based on our sincerity of what we consider the essence of spirituality, right? Because some people think spirituality might mean that, it's just another means. Dharma is another means to obtain artha, economic development, so that I can fulfill my desires, kama, right? So then these people are fooled, because they're operating under the premise that karma or sense gratification is the highest purpose of life. But even if somebody is really inquisitive, even without reading scriptures, by practical experience, they would have realization. Well, self-enjoyment cannot be the highest principle in this world, right? Because that seems very self-centered. That the thing is to anything that is so self-centric cannot be good. That's one way of looking. Another way looking at is, well, even if those who have access to sense enjoyment, they are not really happy. So real happiness must be something beyond that, right? So in this way, one who is sincere by their practical experience of the life, they have this sense of what is the ultimate reality. They might not know in the sense of reading a scripture that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but what they are seeking, the signals that they should look for, that sense is already there in us, to the extent that we are sincere. And so if you take the journey of any great saints, right, it's not that they were born and then immediately, right from birth they had knowledge, but then they went through different life experiences. But throughout those life experiences, they were sincere in their quest of what the truth is, right? To inquire is very natural, just like the child. As soon as child has some little bit intelligence developed and they start speaking, is always asking, right? Daddy, mommy, what is this? What is this? This is plant. This is a flower. What is that? It's a cloud. Sun. Oh, sun. Where does the sun come from? Why does it rise? Where does it go? Where it, on the other side, right? What is this? An old man, young man, male, female. What happened? That person died. Or what happens after you die, right? So it's very natural. The child is asking. So to inquire is very natural, especially in this human form of life. So if we are really sincere in our inquiry, as the child might be asking out of genuine curiosity, but what happens is when the person grows up, right, if they are affected by various desires, then their quest is subdued. The inquiry then transforms into inquiry of how to further improve my sense enjoyment. So they, and even if they take the path, if they are really sincere, they will see, oh, the sense enjoyment is not giving the highest pleasure. So again, at every moment when one is questioning of what the truth is, then one will find the answer. So I spoke a lot. I'll take a pause to see if that gives an answer to your question.
Yes, in a broader aspect. So, I mean, but sometimes what happens is, you, as you said that, this blind faith and this, you put a blind faith on someone, or you put a blind faith on some documents and all, and then you end up into a situation where you realize at the end that this was not some path which I should have taken, and there is another way, intelligent faith, where you every time you're verifying. So I think, yeah, that's a right way to follow any situation.
Yeah, and even if somebody goes on a tangent, meaning you go on a particular path, and halfway through the path you find out, well, this is not the absolute, then you correct your route. And it's not that all that your time, energy that you put is completely lost, because you might have got some partial truth in it, right? And the remaining, so the partial truth that one got, that is positive, and then the falsity that one found is one, now that experience has reinforced your understanding by practical realizing that this is wrong, right? And so that also goes a long way in learning. So we just like everything in this world, that we even in our material realm, we learn by reinforcement of doing things right, and which gives us conviction, oh, this is, I did it the first attempt, did it right. And when we make mistakes, we learn from our mistakes, right? And both is learning, both of them are learnings, right? So an intelligent person does not, is learning every moment. So it's not that it is completely lost. So as I said, it could be a convoluted path, just like in a business, one starts a business, a baniya or a vanik, he's really interested in doing business. He starts one business, he might succeed. He says, okay, now let me expand into this line of business. And when one does that, he might fail. It might fail in the end. He might fail halfway through, and then he makes the correction, but never gives up, right? But why? Because the motivation is to earn money, right? So sometimes people don't have any education, but they have a strong, Vaishya mentality, that it's in there. They will figure out, they will gain knowledge by asking, by association, by apprenticeship. So many examples, like in the Gujarati community, we have founder of Nirma, Karshan Patel. He didn't go to school. Dhirubhai Ambani, he didn't go and got an MBA degree, right? But then, they established a lot of successful businesses, and there were failures, right? But then you learn from the mistakes and you move on, but you don't give up the path. So similarly, the same attitude and mentality when we apply to our spiritual life, we every moment we ask how sincere I am in my quest. If we are sincere, then we will not be cheated. We will see for what is the real essence. Otherwise, we'll be baffled by all the external. Even in a spiritual path, there are weeds. Just like that's why the spiritual path is compared to a creeper. Bhakti lata. Lata is a creeper. So when one sows the seed of spiritual knowledge, then it has to be watered and given fertilizer. Water and fertilizer is in terms of sadhana, spiritual practice, association of devotees. When the creepers start growing, at the same time the weeds also start growing. And if you don't take out the weeds, it will take away the nutrition and the plant won't grow. Bhakti lata won't grow. It won't reach the highest level of perfection. It won't blossom into the flowers and fruits of devotion. And what are these weeds? These weeds, which you might think they were not there when I took this spiritual path. I was sincere. Over a period of time, the weeds which are maybe in a subtle form, they start growing. Desire for name, fame, self-aggrandizement might come. So one has to be sincere every moment and see, well, I'm not looking for material prosperity. That's not why I came for spiritual path to begin with. So if one is sincere, then one can be protected, right? And the path might not be straightforward. We see Buddha, is Siddhartha, prince, and then he was protected in his palace. He was not supposed to go out of the palace. He is living in a world where everything was like created to look so nice. Because the prediction was made that your child will run away, you'll become, at the age of 16 or 17 or in his teens. You will see, you will be affected by the miseries, which might, you might want to come up with, in order to get a solution for the miseries of this world. You would leave the palace and you will go away. So the king thought, okay, in order to solve this problem, what I'll do is I'll make sure that he never sees any pain or misery, not personally experiences it, doesn't see in anyone else experiencing it. So he was kind of living in this simulated Disney world kind of thing, and everything just looks so nice and pretty. Nevertheless, he he ventured out somehow, or he saw an old man, a diseased man, a dead body, and actually in some ways that aggravated, because organically, if he had seen this from his young age, then he might have started taking it in a normalized way, just like so many children. They are from young age, they might have seen a sick person or an old man or a person who dies, and they think, oh, this is just the way of life, and you move on, right? You don't think much about it. But think about, not seeing this for 16 years, and all of a sudden you see it, then the reaction is even more extreme. So in some way, what his father tried to do to prevent might have aggravated. But anyway, so you see his path in the sense that, okay, I mean, first 16 years of life, maybe he was just enjoying like a prince, right? But whenever one is put into a situation, one who is really inquisitive will try to see, well, what is the real truth. And so you see many saints also, and none of them had a very, it's not like a linear path to spiritual success. There will be ups and downs, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll continue on. Verse number 41. Maybe we can complete today's chapter. I think only few verses are left. So
2 verses, yeah.
yeah, 41, 42. I think we should be able to do it. 41. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchhinna samsayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhananti dhananjaya. Translation: one who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his action, whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by reactions of work, O conqueror of riches. So, in the previous 2 verses, we talked about overcoming doubt and be situated in faith. So, what's the outcome? Once the doubts have been destroyed, and how is it destroyed? By transcendental knowledge. It's not that it's you see the doubts. It's not that one does not have doubts because he has blind faith. See, that's not what he's saying. It's the nature of the mind to create doubts. So doubts will arise. That's not the problem. But how do you remove the doubts is important. One can remove the doubts by saying, no, I need to have faith. So let me just put these doubts aside in some box as if it does not exist. Right? So that's turning a blind eye, just like an ostrich who is being attacked by a predator. What does he do? It digs a hole and puts his face inside the hole, so you cannot see that predator, and so he thinks the danger is not there anymore because I cannot see it. So you should not be like ostriches. The doubts will come, but one way to deal with doubts is you have blind faith and say, oh, let me just put the doubt aside. That's not what it's saying. The doubts have to be destroyed by transcendental knowledge. And how does he acquire transcendental knowledge? By inquiry to a self-realized soul. That means one has to put faith in that self-realized soul. But how does one put faith? Right? That faith has to be put based on, it's not blind faith. It's by reinforced positive experiences. But what we consider positive is biased, right? But it could be positively biased based on our sincerity. If we are sincere in seeking, then we will know what is real essence. We can sense it, and so we will will seek shelter of those who are sincere. Like-minded people are attracted, right? Those who are seeking cheap benefits, they will attracted by people who offer cheap benefits. Those who are seeking genuine gold will be attracted by those who are selling genuine gold. So it ultimately comes to us. And so by taking shelter of self-realized individuals and making inquiry, one receives transcendental knowledge. And transcendental knowledge is also accepted not whimsically, but one has to validate, apply intelligence to understand if this really makes sense. Right? If it does not, you ask again questions like Arjuna is asking. In this way, one's doubts are removed. What happens when the doubts are removed? Then one gets conviction. And then one acts on that platform and acts in devotional service. And when one acts in devotional service, one understands who the true benefactor of all the work, of all the sacrifices is. Then renunciation comes. So jnana and vairagya. Renunciation doesn't mean we have to renounce the world. Doesn't mean we have to renounce our duties. What is we are renouncing? Renouncing the fruits of one's actions, not considering oneself as the ultimate enjoyer. One can take the remnants of the offering once it's offered to the Lord. So such a person is actually situated in the self. Such a person is then not bound by the reactions of work, O conqueror of riches. So here Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Dhananjaya, Dhanam, Jaya is conqueror. Like a Kshatriyas, you may have conquered many kingdoms, not for self and aggrandizement, but basically if there are unjust rulers, then they are conquered over so that the subjects of that kingdom are ruled over by a righteous king. So that is the real reason for Kshatriya to rule by authority, by power. In the course of such conquest, obviously one has access to the riches of those kingdoms that one collects through taxation. Kshatriya is supposed to collect taxes, but so that is natural. But it's not for self-aggrandizement. So here, in the scriptures, by whenever different personalities are referred by different names, it is very contextual. In this context, Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya because Krishna is trying to make sanyasta karmanam. One has to renounce the results of fruits of action. Oh, Dhananjaya, you are conquering the riches when you fight. But his Krishna is making fight not for your self-aggrandizement, not for your sense enjoyment, but the riches that is collected through taxation and by conquest is offered as a sacrifice for the welfare of the people. So that's why this particular Arjuna is referred to by this particular name, right, as Dhananjaya in this context, because that is the ultimate conclusion, to renounce the fruits of his action. In this way, Krishna is telling Arjuna, because Arjuna wanted to renounce work, he wanted to renounce karma, but Krishna is saying, you don't have to renounce your karma, you have to renounce the results of your karma. Purport: one who follows the instruction of Bhagavad Gita as it is imparted by the Lord, the personality of Godhead himself, becomes free from all doubts by grace of transcendental knowledge. He, as a part and parcel of the Lord, is in full Krishna consciousness, is already established in self-knowledge. As such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action. In essence, Srila Prabhupada is saying over here that by following this instruction of Bhagavad Gita, by taking shelter of a self-realized soul, based on faith, which was developed through positive experiences, by making inquisitive inquiries humbly in serving them, one's doubts are erased as one achieves the transcendental knowledge from such an inquiry, and then one is situated in full Krishna consciousness. And by Gyan, then Vairagya comes, and one gives up the results of one's actions, as instead of for satisfaction, rather engages them in sacrifice for satisfaction of Krishna, and be free from the bondage to action. Doesn't mean one has to give up everything, but then with the mentality that Krishna is the prime enjoyer, I am the secondary enjoyer. In this way, one is not bound by the reaction. Just like if I think this home is mine, I am the proprietor, then I am implicated. But if I have deities installed and you say, well, this home belongs to Krishna and I am simply a servant, there are devotees like that who do that. They read their monthly finances to the deities. Oh, Krishna, this is your money. This is the account for this month. This is the incoming money. This is the outgoing money. I'm presenting the accounts to you, right? And you say, well, this much I spend on bhoga for Krishna. This much on clothing. Clothing you buy, you offer it to Krishna, and you take it as prasadam. So that's the mood. It's all about consciousness, right? When we act in that consciousness based on knowledge, then one is not implicated in karmic reaction. Okay, it's a little long purport. We can do it. Verse number 42. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hritstham jnanasinat manaha chitvenam samsayam yogam atistotistha bharata. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. Ajnana sambhutam ritastham. This is doubts they arise out of ignorance. That's what Krishna is saying. And here, this knowledge, these doubts have to be removed, not by putting in ignoring them, right? I said in this previous verse. How do you remove the doubts? By knowledge. Doubts have to be slashed through the sword of knowledge, Raja Vidya. So, like Krishna's sword has also a name. I think it's the name of Krishna's sword is Vidyadhar. So, is the Krishna has a mace, Gada. The name of Krishna's Gada is Kaumudaki. So all the weapons, they are all not simply objects. They are all transcendental paraphernalia of Krishna. They are also personalities. They are persons. They also have a personal form. They have name. So interestingly, Krishna's sword is named as Vidyadhar, if I remember it right. And the analogy that is mentioned over here is very appropriate, because see, sword can kill people, right, or the enemy, but the real purpose in Krishna's killing is the value is killing the doubts. So that's why sword is known as Vidyadhar, because by knowledge you can slash or kill the demon of doubts. So it's by knowledge that one has to remove the doubts. It says, Krishna is saying, once your doubts are removed, then you will be able to understand what your true purpose is. So you won't see this act of fighting from a mundane perspective, with by which you are thinking right now. How the outcome of this war will enable my enjoyment. So when you give up that false understanding and you look from the perspective of yoga as a sacrifice, then you will stand up and fight, right? So for that, the doubt has to be removed. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that the yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatana Yoga, or eternal activities performed by the living entity. This yoga has two divisions of sacrificial actions. One is called sacrifice of one's material possessions. Other is called knowledge of the self, which is pure spiritual activities. This goes back to the original discussion, while in the beginning of third chapter, Krishna is trying to remove Arjuna's doubt. Arjuna is confused. If knowledge is more important, why you are asking me to engage in this ghastly war? So Krishna is making this time. Well, there are two paths. Both of them have the same purpose. In one way, they are non-different. But one is a path of giving up one's possession, karma yoga. And the other is path of cultivating knowledge, jnana yoga. But having cultivated knowledge, it's not that one stops the action. Rather, initially one might be engaging in sacrifice of material possession without proper understanding. But now that one has proper understanding, it's not that one stops that activity of karma yoga, but one does it now in proper understanding, right? So that's why Krishna had to elaborate to remove that confusion. If sacrifice of one's material possession is not dovetailed for spiritual realization, then such a sacrifice becomes material, you see. So in the earlier verse also we say, right, mere sacrifice of material possession is not as good as giving up or giving up possessions in proper transcendental knowledge, understanding who the beneficiary is, why we are giving up, right? So same thing, Srila Prabhupada is saying that if the sacrifice of material possession is not dovetailed for spiritual realization, but how can one dovetail if one does not have the transcendental knowledge? Then such a sacrifice is on a material platform. But one who performs such sacrifice with spiritual objective or in devotional service makes a perfect sacrifice. So ultimately comes to the knowledge. So that's the concluding verse, right, of this chapter, Jnana Yoga, right? When we come to spiritual activities, we find that they are also divided into two, namely understanding one's own self, that is, one's constitutional position, as eternal servant of Krishna. Jiveshu Ruphoy Krishner Nityadas. So that is one dimension. What is the other dimension of spiritual activities? The truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So one man say, well, I am, Aham Brahmasmi. I am a fragment of the Brahman. But who is Brahman? What is the source of Brahman? So when it comes to, so the ultimate understanding of the Brahman is that, well, the ultimate truth is person, and that is the supreme person, is the source of all other personalities. So that is the supreme personality of Godhead. So both has to be understood, right? Who are we now once, and then where did we come from? Now, who is our original father? One who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For him, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of the Lord. And such understanding is beneficial for such a person, and such understanding is beneficial. For such a person can easily understand transcendental activities of the Lord. If we really know who Krishna is, then we'll know what the purpose of his appearance, nature of his birth, what his activities are. Earlier in this chapter, we read, right? Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tatvatah tyakta deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna, one will understand that Krishna's birth and activities are divine. Having understood that, one does not take another birth. So to understand that the activities of the Lord, they are not ordinary. It might appear the Lord is doing essentially the same thing any other person is doing. It might appear like that. Though again, Krishna did perform some superhuman activities, but then people still think, oh, he has some mystic powers, because many other people also have mystic power. But again, that is not the essence. One has to understand, how Krishna is transcendental, how he comes to give bliss to his devotees, deliver the pious, and annihilate the demons. In the beginning of this chapter, transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. So that's the verse that we just recited. One who does not understand the Gita, instruction of the Gita, is faithless and is to be considered to be misusing the fragmental independence awarded to him by the Lord. So we all of us have an independence. Otherwise, we'll all be robots. Well, somebody might say, well, why did Krishna program us or made us in a way that we have a choice of either surrendering to him or not surrendering, or in his association, if the choice of wanting to be in his association or not wanting to be in his association, because we came to this material world because we chose at some point in time to enjoy independently of Krishna. What if Krishna did not give us that choice? Right? So the question might be there, but then we have become robots, and if we don't have a choice, then there's no question of love, because as soon as you say love, it has to be by choice. If it's forced, then it cannot be real love, right? So those are two contradictory concepts, and the relationship between us who are fragments of Krishna, right, is that of love, and love has to come by volition, voluntarily. So that choice is there. Now it's up to us how we use that choice. And here Srila Prabhupada is saying, if we misuse the choice that has been awarded, so our fragmental independence, because we are fragmental, our independence is also fragmental. We have a choice, okay, you don't want to surrender to Krishna, but even for that, even to live in an existence where we want to be and we want to enjoy independently of Krishna, we are still dependent on him. So Krishna made his arrangement. Well, we don't see him directly as a person, but then we see his arrangements. We have this. We need a body to fulfill our desires. He provides this material body comprised of senses and the Panch Mahabhuts, different elements. Then he provides provision in the nature in terms of different food and resources and minerals and so many things. Which the conditioned souls, they are trying to exploit the material energy. And especially in the recent times, it's the exploitation has reached the highest point in the known history, to the extent that we have made this place almost unlivable, with extreme changes in weather, pollution, extreme exploitation. So everyone is in this world has appeared because of misuse of the independence. And they want to exploit the energy for the personal enjoyment. But the energy is provided by who? The nature. Nature means the nature belongs to someone. If you say this is my nature, that means the nature that particular nature is embodied within myself. Similarly, the larger nature, we refer to Mother Earth or the creation. That also, nature means it's somebody's nature. Whose nature is? Well, it's Krishna's nature. It's Krishna's energy, right? So we want to enjoy independently of Krishna, so he's not visible directly to us. But then, even to enjoy independently, we need the material for our enjoyment that is provided by Krishna. But we are misusing our independence, which is awarded by the Lord. In spite of such instructions, one who does not understand the real nature of the Lord as eternal, blissful, Satta Chitta Ananda, all-knowing personality of Godhead, is certainly fool number one. Its ignorance means the intelligence is provided by the Lord in this human form of life. Anyone can begin a spiritual inquiry. But if one does not come to that point of spiritual inquiry, atato brahma jigyasa, the whole human life is wasted, just like a dvipad pasuhu, a two-legged animal, for just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Then what's the point in having a sophisticated intelligence in the human form of life? So that person here is compared, is referred to as a fool by Srila Prabhupada. Ignorance can be removed by gradual acceptance of the principle of Krishna consciousness. It does not come all of a sudden, artificially, right? It comes gradually by cultivating that knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Jnana Yoga. Krishna consciousness is awakened by different types of sacrifices. To the demigods, sacrifices to the Brahman, sacrifice in celibacy, in household life, in controlling the senses, in practicing mystic yoga, in penance, foregoing material possessions, in studying the Vedas, in partaking the social institution called Varnashram Dharma. So this is, with a series of verses that we read earlier, right? Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing. Remember those verses where we talked about different kind of sacrifices, that the brahmachari is offering his desire for enjoyment as a oblation in the fire of self-restraint. So that is celibacy. On the other hand, household life is you are offering sense object to the senses, because in the household life there is permission for some sense enjoyment in a regulated way within the bounds of the scriptures. But here fire then becomes senses. The sense objects become the oblation. For brahmacharis, self-restraint is the fire in which he offers his desires. In this way, then he describes different kind of controlling senses for the one persas who Atma Samyam Yogagno. So they inflict the senses with different kind of discomforts and they tolerate it. Mystic yoga is another way of sacrifice. Giving up different kind of dravyas, which is foregoing material possessions. The four kind of dravyas which were described in that verse, Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing here. Studying the Vedas, which is, what was it? Swadhyay yoga, right? So study of scripture is also a yoga. And then in this also following the institution of Varnashram Dharma. So there are different kind of sacrifices. In the beginning, the very first verse, he says, either sacrifice to the demigods or to the Brahman. So that was also described, the very first verse. You see, all this path, you see that it could be different, divergent. One might begin with offering sacrifices to the demigods, though that's not the complete truth. It's a partial truth. Sacrifice to the Brahman is better than that, depending upon what the understanding of Brahman is. But you see, there are different paths according to one's position. But they ultimately, if one is following it sincerely, they will come to the same conclusive truth. That doesn't mean every single path in this world is all bona fide. Some of them would be completely bogus. But among the bona fide paths, there are different paths which are of sacrifice described, prescribed to different individuals according to their nature or understanding. As long as one is sincere, one will make progress. All of these are known as sacrifice, and all of them are based on regulated action, right? So there is some regulation involved in each of them. Yeah, as you said, even for household life, there is a provision for enjoyment, but it's not independent of Krishna. It's not completely unrestrained. But within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization. One who seeks that objective is the real student of Bhagavad Gita. But one who doubts the authority of Krishna falls back. So this is the verse where we discussed about doubting. For a doubting person, there is no perfection in this life or next. Essentially, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing the entire chapter, what we discussed. And so one is advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with the mentality of service and surrender. So this is paraphrasing the other verse. Tatvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya updekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. This verse earlier we read in this chapter where Krishna is telling Arjuna, approach a spiritual master, inquire, serve him submissively, inquire from him submissively. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge because they have seen the truth, right? And we discussed at length why we spent one entire class on just that one verse. But what is who is a bona fide spiritual master? Why is it important to receive that knowledge in disciplic succession, which imparts us the proper mood? It's not simply a theoretical knowledge. So a bona fide spiritual master is in disciplic succession from time eternal, and he does not deviate at all from the instructions of Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the sun god, from whom instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. It's almost like Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing, but in the reverse order. This is one of the first verses, because there is logical transition, right? You can either do in ascending or descending order. He said this because this was the premise for this, and this was the premise for that, and so going back to where the conversation started, where Arjuna was asking, well, how come, well, first of all, Krishna says that, hey, this knowledge is ancient. I actually gave that knowledge to the sun god millions of years ago. Over the course of time, that disciplic succession was broken, and so I'm re-establishing it today, right? So a bona fide spiritual master is the one who is continuing propagation of knowledge without adulteration. Now, in the course of time, it does happen that sometimes that knowledge does get adulterated and that parampara is lost. So when that happens, Lord either comes personally or he sends an empowered personality to re-establish that lost tradition. In this way, the Lord takes personal responsibility that the conditioned living souls in this world always have a path to get out. So there is the importance of learning from a bona fide spiritual master. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in Gita itself. And beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. So this is also we discussed in that question that we brought up, right? One has to be aware or beware of people who are cheaters. But if we are sincere, we won't get cheated. We will immediately sense if this person is interested in personal aggrandizement or is a genuinely sincere person. So Lord is definitely the supreme person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of Bhagavad Gita. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of transcendental knowledge. So we even concluded 4th chapter today, right on time. Take a pause. Are there any final questions, comments before we conclude today's class?
Actually, I just have one good understanding which I got from verse number 41, which I tried to read in Gujarati also just a while ago, and it is saying that like when we do our work as a as a devotee, so basically we are taking a bhakti yoga, right? And then we clear our doubts with a Jnana Yoga. So basically, the Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. And then when you combine all this together, and then you will be in a steady platform, and then you will not get indulged into some like pap and punya kind of a things, and that actually gives a very balanced approach towards a life, and
Yes.
also towards the way you should live, or the way you should behave or handle each and every activity. So I think that's like in other verses or previously, Bhagwan mentioned that that if you want to, if you follow a karma yoga, or if you want to follow a bhakti yoga, or if you want to follow like jnana yoga, so basically all three are different and they all will take you to the liberation. But in this particular verse, it says that you follow one, then all are combined. So it's a path which is combination of everything.
Exactly, yeah. That was Arjuna's misunderstanding earlier also. He says, Krishna, is it this or is it that? And he was looking this in a very exclusive way. And Krishna says, no, it's not exclusive, it's nested. It's just that you're taking in one step at a time. Just like you take first step, which is karma yoga. Now, if you once doing karma yoga, what will happen is earlier one is still attached to the fruits of the action, but he by practice he's saying, okay, let me offer a sacrifice. I'll get more in the future. So it's an imperfect understanding. But anyway, when one does it, when he says, well, okay, I'm getting, but this is not the ultimate satisfaction. What's the real purpose? Well, I'm giving, that must be that for some higher reasons. When one starts cultivating knowledge, so this is for sacrifice for Krishna's satisfaction. Now he is at knowledge, he's taking step 2. So now is a platform of Jnana Yoga. But when one has taken second step, that means he has taken the first step is already included in the second step. So it's not exclusive. So having cultivated knowledge, Arjuna thinks, oh, I got knowledge, so I don't have to do karma yoga. No. You have knowledge means now you have to do it with proper understanding. So it's not exclusive, because step 1 and step 2, they are not on the same level. It's not exclusive. Step 2 is a level higher than step 1. That means you are one step even higher than step 1. So step 1 is already included just below it, right? So when karma yoga matures in knowledge, then it becomes jnana yoga. So karma yoga is kind of included in a jnana yoga. And then when a jnana yoga matures in meditation, now jnana yoga means jnana is, oh, this is satisfaction of Krishna. So now I should meditate on Krishna. That is dhyana yoga. Now I'm going to meditate on Krishna. And by meditation, then one matures into devotion, right? And so then that becomes bhakti yoga, right? So yeah, you're right. It's that's the final understanding that all of this is combined. You have to do karma, but you don't have to enjoy the fruits independently of Krishna. You offer it to Krishna. You enjoy the remnants, honor the remnants. This is a proper understanding. And then because I'm offering to Krishna, I have to meditate on Krishna. So that is part of dhyana yoga. And by meditating on his name, form, pastime, his qualities, which are so wonderful, we are naturally would be getting attracted towards it. And that dhyana will transform into bhava, rasa, bhakti, and that is devotion. And so when one practices bhakti, it's not that one gives up karma yoga or jnana yoga or dhyana yoga. Rather, one engages in all of them even with more vigor. I want to do more. I want to offer the results to Krishna. I want to gain more knowledge of what to offer, why to offer, how is Krishna enjoying, right? So that knowledge about the proper path, how one should act. And then one wants to meditate more because Krishna has unlimited qualities. And the more we read various scriptures, Brahma Samhita, Srimad Bhagavatam, there's more elaborate description about the transcendental qualities, and then that becomes dhyana, that becomes our object of meditation. Like I was mentioning, what are all the paraphernalia of Krishna? Krishna has their weapons, each of them have a name, right? So it's beautiful. We meditate on that, right? So then it matures into bhakti. So all of them kind of feed into each other, right? So it's a bhakti yoga does not reside in a vacuum, as you correctly understood. So the whole purpose of Krishna speaking of the fourth chapter is to bring that understanding, uh, bring Arjuna to that understanding that well, the karma and gyan, they are not separate, right? They're all together. Bhakti, so it looks like uh, it served the purpose. You came to that correct understanding, and so that's very happy to know. Uh, yeah, good.
Yeah, yeah. And we can just I can think of one perfect example of it, like this last week, my wife, like first time she made this, in Gujarati we say bundina ladwa, right? So on Ganesh Chaturthi, right? So so how all these things are combined, that first time she was making it, so but we have to put it as a prasad to God. So you have to get the full knowledge that how to make it. So she went through like lot of videos, right? So you first try to get the knowledge. So she went through all the videos. Then when you're making it, you're fully, because you're making it for God. So what you do, so I mean we are doing karma, right? So like
the
our
action.
entire process is karma. But then we are not thinking about the how it will taste like. So generally when we are making our food, what we do is that you taste everything,
Right.
like what must the like is salt okay, pepper okay, or this any chili is okay, everything is okay. But when you're making this, you don't taste it, so that we are not worried about what will be the fruit of it. That then, but you put your bhakti or everything in making it. You're putting your karma also into it, and at the end, the prasad is ready, and then you give it to God. So it is on the highest level. So uh, everything is passed, like bhakti is done, karma is done, then you're not worried about how it will taste. But at the end, when you taste, it's always better. Like we make that Satyanarayan Katha shiro, so that shiro is always best. You can't make it normal way. When you make the shiro, it will never taste like the way it is tasting, the way you feel that taste. So I think that's the, I in my way, I think that is the best example. If I want to explain this particular words and essence of everything.
Right. Very good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. I just felt it when we were going through it, and I'm trying to read in Gujarati also parallelly, so that uh, to get better clarity of every specific words. Yeah, so that's just going good.
Nice, nice. Okay. Very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much to you. You're spending a lot of time. I think we have spent 1.5 years today. I believe more than that,
Yeah.
completing this 4 chapters, and starting from introduction until now. So it's been a great journey. So I must say that like we missed some classes, but you never missed it. And yeah, even I think I'm only one person in the class, but still you are continuing. So I have no words to say.
It's all good. It's my service. I also learn every time I read. So it's Krishna. It's unlimited source of knowledge and bliss. So it's ongoing, lifelong process. Read again and again and again and again. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and every time you get a different meaning also. I think
Yeah,
that also I feel so.
that's true.
And
Okay. Thank you very much.
all right.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.